Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about The Creator. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. Well, I guess we can talk about the director, Gareth Edwards. This guy. He doesn't have a lot of movies under his belt, but his last two movies that he's made were both major hits. Those movies being Rogue One and Godzilla 2014. I know Godzilla 2014 has a very iffy reputation. It's a very divisive flick. I like it, but I understand why other people don't. But that movie was fueled by hype and excellent trailers, and that hype led to it having a very strong opening weekend before it crumbled, but it still made 200 million domestic, over 500 million worldwide, which is nothing to sneeze at. And 2 years later, he made Rogue One, which had to deal with a lot of reshoots and stuff, extensive reshoots. But even with all that, it still made a whole lot of money, made over $500 million in the States, billion worldwide. Can't call that a flop. So, and plus, they've been using the Rogue One connection in the advertising of the movie, as you can see here from the director of Rogue One. So yeah. So I'd say the director's last two movies being hits, I can't label that as a con, so it has to be a pro. So that's pro number one. Pro number two, I guess our leading dude here, John David Washington, Denzel's kid. He hasn't been in a lot of movies, but he is starting to really become like a well-known face. His first movie was like a Black Klansman, which did very well. And then Tenet, if things went the way they were supposed to, that movie would have made a ton of cash, and he probably would have shot to the stratosphere. But external circumstances prevented that from happening. So yeah, Tenet ended up underperforming, but it's not John David Washington's fault that happened. But yeah, and I know his last movie was Amsterdam, which was a total bust, but he was like one face of many in that movie, so you can't blame him for that either. But yeah, he's still a recognizable face. He's definitely the most recognizable face here. I mean, like, who else is in this cast? I'm curious. Uh, Allison Janney. Oh, I recognize her. But she's like, yeah, she's definitely more of a. My brain's not working right. It's short circuiting. Okay, she's definitely more of a supporting player, so I don't know if that'll mean anything. And who else do we got? Oh, Ken Watanabe? Cool. But again, wrong person. But Ken Watanabe, he's more of a supporting player too. So, I mean, he was in the Godzilla 2014. So, yeah. Yeah, so I guess John David Washington's presence, I label that as a pro, but it's more of a minor pro. It's not a strong pro. So, there's that. So that's pro number two. Pro number three, the theme of this movie. This movie's whole thing is humans against AI. And as you probably know, AI has become a very relevant topic right now. For months and months and months, I've been hearing about AI and the potential takeover of AI and various different things. So that automatically makes this movie timely, makes it relevant. And, hell, like the whole writer's strike and the actor's strike, part of the reason why those even happened was because of AI, because that looming threat of AI. So, yeah, so definitely the theme of this movie, it does make it relevant. So I'm gonna label that as a pro. What I guess another pro I can say is that this is one of the only original movies coming out this month. I mean, this month has been jam packed with sequels that no one asked for. Okay. So the fact that this isn't that helps it stand out amongst the crowd. So I would definitely label that as a pro. I guess one last pro is that the reviews are good, but they're not great. They're not as good as they were earlier in the week. Earlier in the week, it was like in the 80s, like 80 something percent. Now it's at 67, which is still fine, but it's not great. The same thing applies to its audience score, 76%, which is not the greatest, not ideal. And its cinema score is a B plus, which is not ideal. It's not horrible, but it's not great. So moderately positive reception all around. I would label that as a minor pro. And I think that's it. So yeah. Cons. This is an original sci-fi movie. That is a gamble, a financial gamble, because obviously you don't have the safety net of being, based off an established IP. You don't have that. This movie basically lives or dies if sci-fi fans or the general public give a shit. Okay. And for original sci-fi, sometimes it can work out. I guess the original Star Wars: A New Hope would be a classic example of that. But for every Star Wars, there's a Jupiter Ascending. If anyone even remembers that movie, I know I do, unfortunately. But that movie, it cost a lot of money and it lost a lot of money. So the creator obviously doesn't want to go that route, but it might, unfortunately, even though its budget is actually pretty economical. It's actually pretty reasonable. 80 million. Like compared to some of the other movies that have come out this year, like that is small for a movie of this scale. But yeah, the fact that this is an original sci-fi movie, that's rough. So I'm labeling it as a con. I guess another con is the fact that this weekend is very crowded. You have Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie. You got Saw X. You got Dumb Money. Although that's not looking too hot like at all. But it's really just Paw Patrol and Saw X. And sure, all these movies are going after different audiences. So they're not all directly competing against each other. There's still a lot of movies in the marketplace. So yeah, so having like all that, like I guess the fight for box office dollars, that could hurt the creator. Well, really could hurt like all movies. But yeah, dealing with all that competition, or just general competition, that is a problem. So label it as a con. I guess like its Thursday previews 1.6 million. That's not great. That doesn't paint a good picture. I mean, what can I compare this to? I guess there's. Oh yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. Well, Edge of Tomorrow is not an original sci-fi movie, but that didn't do great, which is a shame because it's so good, but it missed the mark financially. District 9, that's what this movie really wants to be. That's like the ideal scenario to be a District 9. Oh yeah, there's Chappie. Forgot about that one. Yeah, you don't want to be that. That's like that's something you don't want to be. What was I looking at? Ad Astra. Ad Yeah, from 2019. This is a really good comparison because both of these movies are from Fox slash Disney, or because 20th Century Studios slash Disney, and both came out in September. So it's very fitting. So Ad Astra obviously had a much bigger star in the form of Brad Pitt. And also, I believe it went up against like Downton Abbey and Rambo Last Blood. So also going up against a bunch of movies. And Ad Astra did not do great. It only opened like it had a 1.5 million in previews. So this number is very comparable. And Astra opened with like 19 million and made like 50 million total, 135 million worldwide on a budget of 80 million. So That's not good. And this movie had a pretty reception, kind of like what we're. Although I can't tell if it was better or worse. It was much worse. That was a B minus. That was a death sentence. So the creators it's looking better in terms of audience reception, but yeah, it's the numbers are not looking great if it's like that close to Ad Astra. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's Thursday previews. Obviously, they weren't gonna be great anyway because it's like September. Like obviously, like it just came out in summer. I imagine that number would be bigger, but it's September, so it is what it is. But yeah, it's Thursday previews are not great, so I'm labeling that as a con. Are there any other cons? I think I mentioned all the main things. Okay, so opening weekend. I was thinking 20 million, but I don't know anymore. um, Ad Astra opened with 19 million. I feel like the creator may or may not hit that, maybe lower. I feel like, I don't know, 16 to 18 million, I think is a reasonable range. So I'm going to go with that. 16 to 18 million opening weekend is total. I don't know about its legs. It may get killed when the Taylor Swift movie arrives. I feel like that's going to be the case for a lot of movies. Um, so it may not have a super long life. I mean, next weekend won't be too bad. But dealing with the Taylor Swift movie, that's going to be rough for every movie. So, yeah, I'm going to say 40 to 50 million total, just to be safe. And that's it for the creator. So there's three more movies for me to talk about. Uh, there's Dumb Money, which I have to like bring up because it's not labeled here because it technically was wide last weekend, but they expanded much further this weekend, which is why I'm doing it this weekend. And there's also Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie, and then there's Saw X. So stay tuned for those videos. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. We'll check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos on Man the Channel. Want to watch any of the ones I've done this year or the past few years, you can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. The creator. I think I've covered it a few times, though it originally went under a different name. I think it was True Love. That was the initial name. So I gotta look up both names, which is kind of annoying. So the first time I talked about this movie, I think it was episode 131. I talked about it alongside Dragon Ball Super Superhero, Gran Turismo, Distance, See How They Run, like those movies. Talked about it alongside those. And then when I got the name changed to the creator, I talked about it in episode 187 alongside Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So, yeah, those are the two times I talked about it. So if you want to watch those episodes or any of the other ones I've done on the channel, I'm now done 208. So if you want to watch any of those from beginning to now, you want to binge them all from beginning to now, I highly encourage you to do that, so go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. I just did my 3-part summer 2023 recap. It was a lot, but I got it done. So there's those, and there's also my September recap will come out not next week. It'll be before the Taylor Swift Eras tour. Before that, releases theatrically. It'll be before then. It'll be after Extras Believer comes out too. So stay tuned for that video. But yeah, if you want to watch any of the past recap videos on Man the Channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.